everyone, and welcome to the Indulge Podcast. Today's special guest is Dominique Lopez. Hi, Dominique.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
It's lovely having you here, and I would like to introduce Dominique to our listeners today. So Dominique is the co-founder of O-Scrap since 2019, a popular initiative that upcycles pre-loved clothes and scraps from garment companies. She's a French national based in Chennai for the last 12 years. Dominique is the international consultant for UN and EU, specialized in drug information system and drug monitoring. Her qualifications include a master's degree in demography, a degree in economics, and a degree in epidemiology and statistics. Married with 2 kids, Dominique has a profound interest in reducing her carbon footprint and encouraging zero waste. So good to have you here, Dominique.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. So I would like to start by asking you, how did you get into this interest in reducing your carbon footprint? Though we keep hearing it on media, do we really incorporate those things in our real life? How did you become so proactive?
Well, I think to answer one of your first questions, yes, I think, it's an emergency crisis right now, and we all need to make some changes in our life because, our future, depends on it. Now, how much do you want to do about it is the big question. So I think for me, in my personal life, I think it started to bother me about, 10 to 15 years ago. And then it's really kicked in about, wanting to make some changes, really when I had my first child 10 years ago, because I just realized, I'm bringing children in this world, but, how are they going to grow up and live and in which kind of environment? And I think this is really what is pushing me actually, on a daily basis, to be more sustainable, to reduce my carbon footprint, to try not to do things or over consume, because at the end of the line and, at the end of this, there is, the future of my children on this planet is actually at stake. If we don't make the change, there will be more and more natural calamities, more and more earthquakes and floods and drought and things. And
it does sound scary.
But that's that's the reality.
Yes.
All the science and the research is pointing towards this. So we need to be ready to make the changes. Are we willing to do it is another question. Unfortunately, I think also what is happening is that the governments and the people who are making big decisions for us are not really decided that
it's a crisis.
It's a crisis, absolutely. Yeah.
So how did you start? So you had your baby, and then did
I
you
had
start
my
in a
baby
small way at home?
Absolutely.
Was there
Yeah. And I think this is how everyone should actually start it, because it can be quite overwhelming. So and I think it's easier to make some small changes, step by step, rather than, suddenly on one day decided, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be zero waste, because it's not going to work. So I think how I did it is just, start with one change and then implement that change. And then once it's implemented and it's embedded in your daily life, then, it's part of yourself, it's part of the routine. And then after this change is done, then you do something else. So for example, I started with my bathroom, and I decided, okay, my bathroom is going to be natural and plastic free. So, and same with for the bathroom of the husband and not the children. We all share the same bathrooms. And so the idea was like, okay, I'm not buying products from the supermarkets anymore, because I know that there are a lot of products which are not good for me inside. And on top of this, it's all coming into plastic containers that I want to avoid. So then the first step is, okay, so how I do replace my shampoo? What are the alternatives? What are the alternatives that I can find? So it's, for me, I choose a shampoo bar. And then I bought, from one brand and I liked it. I bought from another brand and I didn't like it. And then slowly, I made my, decision and my
decisions slowly.
choices.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So you start with the shampoo, the bamboo toothbrush. Then for the kids, because it's bamboo, then I try to make it nice. And now there are some companies who can engrave the name of the person on the bamboo toothbrush, so that it's fun for the kids. They have their name. So this it doesn't need to. It can be fun also.
So it's not like you have to stand in the street corner and scream activism and say, let's go sustainable. That's what you're saying. You can start in your own homes in a small way.
Yes, absolutely. But also I do realize that because I'm doing it, it's nice to be surrounded by people who are also mindful in this, in the sense that because you get a lot of tips from this community of mine. So I follow on Instagram, I follow a lot of sustainable influencers, so they give you tips and share some information. So actually in this age of social media, it's very easy to get and to come to have some information for you. But I think ultimately you are the decision maker, and as long as your choice ultimately is informed and that okay, I'm gonna buy this because I know I've done my research, I know this is better for me or this is better for the environment, then this is all that
so
matters.
Intention is there at all your decisions that you make. In fact,
I think so. You need to have this goal ultimately, no?
True.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, how did O-Scrap happen? Because you are coming from a personal point of view about running your home in a sustainable fashion, but O-Scrap is the next level, isn't it?
So O-Scrap is a sustainable small business that my partner Priyanjali Basu and me have started 4 years ago. So the idea of O-Scrap is upcycling fabric scrap. So we collect fabric scrap and all clothes which are unused in the city. So we go to garment exporters, we go to tailoring units, and we also go to individuals. And once we collect this fabric scrap, we actually redesign this fabric scrap into new fabric products. And actually, we started doing that 4 years ago. And in this 4 years ago, the business kind of evolved because along the way and along our journey, we realized that there were a lot of needs, not only for us, but especially for individuals. So for example, we realized that a lot of people don't know what to do with their old clothes. So ultimately, if you don't know what to do with them, then the first reflex that you're going to have is, okay, I'm just going to dump them in the bin. But this is not the solution, because it's going to go to landfill, it's going to be polluted, it's going to... so we realized, how do we come with a solution also as a business for these people who don't know what to do with their old clothes? So while initially we started working with garment exporters and tailoring units, we also realized that we have to help all these individuals also to find a solution. So now we also collect old clothes from individuals who can decide to give it to us, and we are taking the responsibility of segregating it. And then according to the condition, according to the style, then we donate it to some NGOs, we recycle it, or we upcycle it. So it's become a 100% circular system, in the sense that whatever come to us is not going to be discarded. It's going to be reused when we are on
okay, you'll find a way to use it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And it's interesting because I have, looked at some of the products. I have bought Christmas decorations, and so there's a lot of creativity involved in recycling and upcycling and making it again consumer worthy.
Yeah, and making it cute. Because it's
not enough to just have a noble cause. Really, you need to also.
Well, I think what we have been really focusing is one, it's not because it's fabric scrap or it's waste that it's not useful anymore. On the contrary, this is what we are proving with this kind of business, is that yes, you can do a lot of cute and useful things out of fabric scrap. And I think our focus is really to trying to change the mindset. It's not because it has been discarded that it doesn't have value anymore. So we're adding up value to the fabric scrap. And what's happening is that we managing to make them useful, to make them cute, to make them of good quality. Everything is handmade, everything is locally made. We have a team of tailors, which are 75% of women who are working from home, bringing additional, resources to their family. Most of them are coming from some I would say socially and economically deprived background. So for them, it's also a way of being empowered and bringing additional resources. So I think it's not only it's how you construct your business. It's not only collecting fabric scrap and redoing it, but it's also how we are integrating human.
So there's an impact on the community.
Community and trying to be as much as possible local. So this is a larger thing.
As a consumer and mom of 2 kids, isn't it really difficult to be careful with your consumerism with children because they outgrow things, the wear and tear is more? How, isn't it difficult to control the consumerism at that point?
Well, I think, all kids grow up, and because they grow up, then you need to change their shoes and their clothes, very often, more often than us. Yes. I would say, I got lucky. I have very good friends around me who have, all the kids. So my kids have hands me down. Okay. So I haven't bought a single clothes in a very long time for them. So I have 1 son and 1 daughter. And I do the same, whenever my son outgrows something, which is still in very good wearable condition, then I pass it on to someone else. Okay. So this is how it's been working for me. And then whenever there is something that they need, not that they want, that they need, it makes a big difference. Makes a big difference that they need, and we don't have it in the cupboard, or the friends around us don't have it as well. Then I'll try as much as possible to buy it secondhand. Okay. And if it's not possible secondhand, then ultimately.
So it's a last resort to buy a brand new something.
Yes, it will be. It will be. It's not the first thing that comes to mind. It's actually the last thing.
Wow. Okay. So your cart will not be full at in the Amazon account.
Very rarely. Not even Amazon. I just avoid Amazon as such. But no. And well, there's also a lot of good brands in India who are doing, lovely sustainable clothing for children. So I think it's more, so it's what you need, not what you want. It's what you need or what you need for your children. But ultimately, there is now always, most of the time, a sustainable option as an alternative rather than just going to a H&M and just, fill up your shopping bag. Yes. Okay.
So what about your dining table? What about the food and kitchen? Does that also, is that also an area where you share the same attitude of zero waste and philosophy of, need-based food in the fridge? Is that how it is?
Yeah, I think, as long as you start this journey of that, slow living, zero waste living, or even, low waste living, because I don't think that it's not easy to be zero waste. So I'll have to be a little bit more honest with me and with, with people. I'm not living a zero waste life. I'm aiming at it, but so far I haven't really succeeded. But it's a journey, so it will get better. So I'm shopping in bulk as much as possible.
Okay.
So now in Chennai, now there are a couple of options and some more shops where you can buy in bulk, without having going to a supermarket and bringing in more plastic at home. So I go to this bulk shop and bring my own containers and fill it up, everything. So that's a way for me of avoiding to bring more and more plastic
More containers.
More containers.
Okay.
And
bags.
then at home, I would say we are 70% vegetarian, which ultimately, because I have kids and things, and I find it very difficult to be vegan. So, but we also know that in the larger picture of climate changes, what we need to reduce the most is the meat consumption. So we are definitely not
going in that direction.
Going in that direction
of wanting to be eventually vegan one fine day.
Absolutely, but then I also realized, for example, when we travel. So in India, it's quite easy to be vegetarian, but when we travel, in Europe or even when I'm back in France, so my son from time to time he loves, and my husband as well, he loves to have a good beef steak. So from time to time,
they would like to eat meat.
Absolutely. So I think it's you can indulge. And then from time to time, it's okay.
And it's like a philosophy, right? They have to believe in it eventually if they want to give it up.
That ultimately that would be their decision, not mine to do. Yes. As a mother, of course, now I
have some control over
I have some control still for a little bit of time. I don't know for how long, but so right now it's easier when your kids are smaller because of course but as soon as they'll be older, they're already making some choices in terms of what they would prefer to eat or not eat.
Or what about wearing, using clothes and the products they use? Are they also on the same page with you, the family?
I think, and I think it also make it much easier for everybody, where everyone is on the same page. Where everyone is convinced that we need to do our bit. And so my son will be the first one when he's walking and seeing some plastic, and he'll be some littering. He'll be the first one to pick it up and say, okay, let's bring it home or put it in the dustbin or something like this. And they are quite conscious about what they not what they buy as yet, because they don't buy, but about what they do and they don't do. They switch off the lights once they leave a room, because they know. So I think there are little things like this in the daily routine, and we are also lucky that actually so this is our philosophy at home. But what happened is that the school where they go to, they also in the same state of mind,
Okay, so like you were saying earlier, that it's nice to be around mindful people.
Absolutely.
So your community's similar thought process, has a similar thought process. It helps in leading that lifestyle.
Absolutely, because then, the messages that, they receive at school is in line with the messages that you're passing on also at home. So it's much easier to, you're more centered and focused, at least for them. It's not like, okay, someone is telling me something and someone else is telling me something else. So at least, in terms of education and parenting, then it makes it much easier for everybody.
So this world that you're describing seems a little removed from another parallel world, which is consumerist. It literally seems like I'm talking about, here we are talking about something that it's a separate community altogether. Yeah. Everybody's mindful, you're picking up litter. And, so what about the trends? How do we compete with the real world out there where people are not so mindful? And there is this world where fashion matters. And, and as your kids are growing up, they are going to be, mingling with the others who don't believe in any of this.
Sure.
So how do you balance that, your relevance by being fashionably accepted? You're doing it with Elan, but how does that work?
Yeah, actually, I haven't, I think you can be fashionable even if you're, living a low-waste life, like they were saying, there's this say, which says the most sustainable garment is the one that is in your closet. Okay. Whatever you own already, reuse it, repeat your outfits, change, accessorize. You don't need to have 100 different outfits, in your wardrobe. But once again, this is a state of mind. This is a mindset. And I think as long as you're not ready yourself, to make this change, or, how if you like shopping in H&M, it's not good for the planet. But if it gives you a hike, there's it's a
not,
bit.
yes, it's not that you're forcing it down people's through the idea of mindfulness. What you're saying is you need to, yes.
I think as much as possible, I'm trying not to be judgmental.
True, that's where you're coming from.
I don't think that this will be helpful for either for me or for the people that I'm surrounded with, to be judgmental and saying, why are you doing this, and you shouldn't be doing this, and this is wrong. I think everything comes, naturally and at a pace if you take the time to think about it.
And you're demonstrating your way of life. It's not that you're expecting others to follow you, but by your own personal choices, yes. I would say.
But still, I'm hoping to be able to convert more people into this.
Have an impact.
And have an impact. So it's either individually or even as a business with Oscrab. The idea is also to raise awareness around us. Because if I make the change, only me, it's okay, I will have a small impact. But if we have 20 making it, then it's a much bigger impact,
And this might actually result in
and this is actually
actual change.
What we need to, So I don't think it's, change drastically everything and how we live. I think it's just being a little bit more mindful, just slow down a little bit, and just before buying something, just think about it. Think, do I really want it? Do I really need it? If I want it, then maybe I'll think and I sleep on it. If I need it, then what is my best way, to acquire it without, being damaging too much the planet? So it's, I would say, so it's definitely a thought process, but if you're not ready for it, you're not ready for it. I might, have a chat with you and try to convince you, but I'll never come and say that what you're doing is wrong.
But suppose you are running a business where people have to come and buy things from you. So coming from your point of view,
sure.
It's slightly counters your idea in the sense.
Counterproductive, yeah.
Yes, because at one side you'll say, buy this because you're supporting a cause. And then you'll say, don't buy it because don't buy too much. Because isn't it a fine line?
No, it's a little bit of a tricky situation. Yes. I have to agree with you. But what's happening is that we actually, so we do like every other business. We promote our brand, on Instagram. We show our products. And we ask people, if you're interested to buy it, get in touch. But we never make offer like get 2 buy 1.
Okay.
For example, we in our marketing strategy, we rarely go on sale. So I think we make the products because we have seen that there was an interest, and but I will never tell people, or I will never tell my customer, or if you take 2, if you buy 2, why don't you take 4?
Okay.
That is something that, so I'm happy to push for 1 sale, but I will never push for more than this. I don't know if you understand
yes.
this. And ultimately also, it's a bit of a tricky situation, but I think what people come to us because they have found an alternative, and this alternative is less harmful, and this alternative come as a solution. And so I think this is the reason of our business.
Is there a possibility that I bring back what I bought from you?
Yes, absolutely. So quite funnily, actually, it's funny that you give that example. So I was telling you earlier, so we actually collecting clothes from people
Correct.
who don't have a use of it. So what happened is that during the pandemic, at the very beginning of the pandemic, our scrap was already there, and we realized that there was a need for masks. Okay, no one had masks at during the first lockdown. So we had a lot of cotton already in stock, and we managed to, because our tailors are all working from home, we managed during the first ease up of the lockdown of sending them cotton, and they started making masks. And at that time, we had just realized that, the masks are the new need of the hour. So on top of making masks for people, we also organized a donation channel. So we were offering people we were making masks and also distributing masks to people in needs in Chennai, especially all the workers who were, still, working hard in the streets, and government agencies and things. And so I think we, at that time, we handed over more than 2,000 or 3,000 handmade cotton masks that we handmade. And so these masks were the first mask, okay? So they were in cotton, we didn't have elastic, so we made a cotton tie-up and things. So they were not now with all the masks with the elastic. So at that time, they were not really practical, okay? But they were the only, few of the masks that there was. And so funnily, so I'm coming back to your first question. So funnily now that people actually, we are seeing these masks coming back to us.
Okay.
Because
they're discarding them.
Because so people are not using them anymore. And so those people who have bought from us, they are still in touch with us. And then, so it happened actually incidentally, like in the last 2 months, from 2 different people who got in touch with us in saying, can I hand over some fabric to you and some garments to you? And so, because this is not, we do the pickup for them, so we go to their house and pick up, and because we feel like, this is the bare minimum to do. And so when we segregate and sort, then we realize, oh, look, our masks are coming back to us. And I think this is great. So this is fully what we want to achieve. This is circular. And so this mask, of course, we couldn't do anything with this. So we found a way of ourselves reusing them. So they got cut into small pieces, and now they're going to become some stuffing for, from some of our products.
Okay, that's really interesting. Yes. So you have traveled a lot.
Yes.
You have. And how do you think we are coping here with climate change and mindful living as compared to some of the other countries that you might have visited?
Okay, so I think, so when it comes to climate change in India, what happened is that unfortunately India is very high, in the worst, CO2 emitters in the world. So I think India is ranked third. First is China, then the US, and then India. But this is the whole country. This is the whole country, counting industries and everything. When a few times already, when I had this chat. I was saying, yes, India is the first, third in CO2 emissions, which is not looking good for the country. But still, it's matured clearly due to the industry, due to how the energy is produced in India, which is coal mining, and which is the worst of the fossil fuel. But when you look at each individual, the carbon footprint per individual is actually very small.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, because what is happening, and actually when I have to do a comparison, between how I lived my life, or people are still living their life in France or in Europe, and how is it in India, I see there's so much low waste habit that are still here in India that have been completely lost in Europe. So for example, the fact that you bring your own daba to, with your lunch to office every day. you have your daba, it's the same daba every day, it contains different things, but you bring it to office. And this is a super high zero waste habit, okay? Because you bring it to the office, you take it by, you don't create any waste, you just eat what is inside. In Europe, what you would do over lunch, you would go out, you will order something, or in France, you will go and order, go in a fast food, or you order a sandwich, okay? And the sandwich, will be wrapped into something, and so already there is, one
You've
waste
started,
which has
yeah,
been
you
created.
started creating a pile of
Absolutely. So I think there's a lot of things that in India, like the fact that you go to a tea shop and 10, 15 years ago, the tea shop, the tea was served in a terracotta cup.
Yes.
Okay, so now it's less and less, but it's still there. The fact that I'm sure your grandmother was, stitching and already upcycling and reusing whatever.
True.
My mother-in-law, she's like this.
Okay.
I love her, and I love that about her. She's always saying, "Oh no, give it to me."
She's from Chennai.
No, she lives in Dehradun.
Okay.
But she's like this, she has this mind where she's, oh no, but give it to me, I can do something with it, and she will do something with it. So I think there's a lot of, habits and way of doing things which are still very much alive in India. And I think just to be able to live a much more zero waste life or low waste life, then you just need to revive those.
But that's true. Our grandmothers did recycle glass bottles, jars. We rarely bought containers from outside. We just recycled, Bonvita bottles.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
That's true.
So I think that way India is a little bit more lucky because there's these reflexes and these small habits. They if you revive them, then you're in a good place.
So we just have to reach out to our roots.
Yeah, absolutely. Whereas in Europe, these things have been lost for decades now. Because we had the pre-industrial revolution. Much in the 50s and 40s and the 50s, much earlier. So everything has been lost. Everything has been like here, India and cotton, the cotton is one of the most sustainable, fabric that you can have in your cupboard. So these things, it just need to be pushed a little bit more.
And we just have to be reminded.
Yeah, or maybe reminded, yeah, absolutely.
Of how we were when we were younger or, how our lives were. But yes, oddly enough, you're right. We believe in fresh food, freshly cooked food. Those are things that we've all grown up with here. This is heartening. So it's just really nice talking to you, Dominique.
Thank you so much.
You ended it on a very positive note. I'm full of hope, and yes, I'm going to look into my own cupboard when I get home and see how I can make a difference. Thank you so much for being with us. For the listeners who just tuned in, this was Indulge Podcast. Thank you for being with us. Do follow us, do subscribe, and look out for more interesting conversations. Meet you again soon.
Hi, this is Dominique Lopez. It was lovely talking to you, Sabrina, today. I had a lot of fun, chatting about sustainability and low waste life. Please do reach out if you like to start your journey as well. We'll be happy to help you. And you can also, subscribe to the Indulge podcast for more information.